Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, I am joined by YouTube personality, actress, and all around entrepreneur, Rebecca Zamolo. Rebecca is one of the top female YouTubers in the world with over 47 million combined followers. You even heard, I had a little chuckle, 47 million combined followers across her social media platforms with over 9 billion views on YouTube. Rebecca made her mark in the YouTube space with her family-friendly content, which includes videos ranging from family challenges, do-it-yourself projects, 24-hour challenges, gymnastics, and much, much more. In addition to her YouTube work, she is a New York Times best-selling author, an avid activist when it comes to raising awareness to various health journeys, which she has shared through her YouTube channel, and much more. I was blown away by your website too. I mean, you guys have every accessory item package out there. There's premium content galore. The followers are A to Z, and the output of your content is just so inspirational. So there's so many ways we could tackle this interview. But Rebecca, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thank you for having me, Jason. I'm excited.
You are our first. We've had some fun guests. We just learned that you're a big Macklemore fan, but you are our big first YouTuber that we've ever had on. So this is an area I got to start with. And I look at your channels, Rebecca. I mean, I see the Rebecca YouTube channel, over 14 million subscribers. Rebecca and Matt YouTube, 7 million subscribers. Game Master Network, 2.8 million subscribers. Pawzam Dogs, 1.7 million subscribers. Rebecca Maddie Challenges, 1.4 million subscribers. ZamFam Gaming YouTube, 945,000 subscribers. I mean, it is just unbelievable. And you're doing 6 videos, it looks like, a week. How and what does your day-to-day work schedule look like to get this much content out?
Well, actually, there's another channel as well. It's Rebecca Zamolo Shorts, which is probably going to be retitled, but it's a reaction-based and just another video that I do 2 a week on that channel as well.
Oh my God. How the heck did we even miss that? So how, like, seriously though, I mean, for one person to start a YouTube, because we have had so many people from so many different industries, social media always comes up because it is a massive foundation for continuing to create impressions. And the biggest complaint we get out there is the ability to put quality content out because of the time it takes, the money it takes, the effort, the planning. I mean, how are you seriously doing this on a week-to-week basis? What does your schedule look like? How many hours are you putting in?
So our production team is here Monday through Friday. And when I started, I didn't have a team. I was doing it all of myself. But in order for us to scale the quality of our content and the amount, we obviously had to grow a team. So we have 5 offsite editors now and about 10 people in addition to that working on our content.
So that's a pretty big team, but I want to also interject here because there are pretty big teams out there that exist. One that just comes to mind, I think about YouTube, and the reason I think about it is because they just celebrated with their plaque. In the Office have a podcast with Barstool Sports. They just hit 100,000 subscribers, and it was like a huge thing. Now, I think about their show, and I obviously can't compare them to you in any way, shape, or form, but they have massive celebrities that come on. They're behind a company that has a valuation close to $1 billion with an army of 1, 2, 300 people. You have 5, 10, 15, and you're doing 40 million plus subscribers. What has been the secret sauce? What has given you the ability to grow at the rate you have?
Well, my background before I became a YouTuber was in producing. So I was an actor and I was frustrated not getting roles I wanted. And so I started producing things myself or helping other people. So I think the biggest advantage I have is my brain works like a producer. And, you know, I always say one day I'll step back behind camera and I'll produce again. I won't be on camera forever. And so that makes it a lot easier when the main person that's running it knows how to run the behind the scenes. And I think I took it from day one. I took it as a business. I was older when I started social media. I wasn't, you know, a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old. I was already an adult. I had had experiences. I had had different jobs. And so when I went into this, I needed this to work. And so, you know, when there was no schedule, I made a schedule, you know, like I was up at a certain time. I ended here. I created a schedule that didn't exist before I was ever even making money on the platform. And I think if you can start with and treat it like a job, that makes it a lot easier to grow, because you spend this many hours studying it. You spend an hour here prepping, you spend, you allot your time. And I think what a lot of people do is they're overwhelmed because they're like, how do I even start? And it's like, well, start with watching other people's content that you want to do it like, watch how they do it, and then create a video. Don't copy, but, be inspired by. And in the beginning, it's, it evolves over time as you grow your audience, you see what they like, you learn through your own data. But if you can just break it down into like, what are the things I need to do to get here? Instead of taking a big leap, it's like, okay, maybe I start with, one video a week. And so for me, it was like, I'm going to commit to one video a week for 30 weeks. And I, no matter what, posted a video a week. And then from there, it was like, okay, I've mastered that. Now I'm going to try 2 videos a week. We didn't start with 6 videos a week of content on different channels. We've built up to it. And so, with anything, it's hard at first, and then you get comfortable, you find your rhythm, and then all of a sudden you become efficient. So then it gives you the ability to then add on and bring in new things.
There's so many great pieces of advice just in that little discussion right there. And for my money mafia, we'll get to the business behind it all and the numbers. But before we do that, I really want to focus on the idea here of content creation and strategy, because I think you've done it so good. And I think so many people back home, whether they have 50, 100, 1,000 followers, 5,000, they're trying to grow a small business, or they have millions. There's ways to make impressions, to make impact, and of course, to make dollars. And you've done it so differently at such a fast speed. And so that is why I want to make sure, Money Mafia, we take some time with this segment. One of the things that you had mentioned is that you were a producer in a lifetime ago. You have seen what it's like to be behind the camera and make something special. For 99.9% of us who don't even really understand what a producer is, and certainly that skill set, what are some different tips or tactics you could give us back at home to think through as we're creating a short form video, as we're on a Zoom, maybe in a sales meeting, as we're trying to create our first YouTube? What are some big pieces of advice you could give us that we could only get from a producer with 40+ million followers?
Well, I would start off with the concept, the title and the thumbnail for a creator or a short. It has to draw you in. So that should be the first thing. And I've had some great videos that don't have a great title or thumbnail, and they've underperformed. And then we've had to switch it up, and then they'll perform again. So if we're talking about YouTube, title and thumbnail is the first thing. I think concept is huge. So it's like, what's a concept that people would be engaged in? And in this space, it's very interesting because it always shifts on social media, but at this time it's viral content. So whereas, in 2018, you're creating for like your niche audience, like you want to create content for that. Now you want to create to a broader audience. So you want to think about something that if they've never watched your video, that they will understand it, that it has the story arc, and that they're satisfied by the end. Whereas before, we created content where it was like one story, but if you just happened to come in on episode 2, you would be lost, So it's about pulling people in and being able to tell a story from start to finish in the length of time for the piece of content you're creating.
Okay, and for the virality piece, which is so important these days, especially to get eyeballs on your work, what are some things that you have found that create a higher likelihood, let's say, of a piece of content going viral?
That's something I'm still studying, but I would say something that anyone can relate to. So it's relatability with your audience. It's, if you're starting from scratch, I would look at other videos that went viral. That's, and studying up on trends. There's different places, Google Trends. You can see like what is trending, what are people searching for? And then there's the aspect of how does that like connect to you? Because essentially you're building your brand, and viral content is great, but you need to, how does that tie into who you are? For example, if I were doing a trending piece, if I saw a trend of like there was like a guy holding a toilet seat, and it was like the wife was putting the seat down, showing the guy how to do it. But I'm like, okay, you can just copy it, which is, a lot of people do, or what's your spin on that? And so I was a new mom. And so it was like, I'm going to throw a diaper. I'm going to show how to change a diaper and throw it in the diaper bin. And it's just a little different, but as being a new mom, a lot of people follow me for that. And so it's like taking that trend and making it your own, and like how it fits your brand. Because at the end of the day, views are great, but you really want that core audience that, knows everything about you, that follows you for you.
That's
So
a
there's
really
like the give
great
and
piece of
take.
advice. Yeah, the
Yeah.
idea of just looking at what is viral out there, and then again, like you said, not copying genius, but using it as a thought starter and then customizing it to your lifestyle, to your demographic, to your situation. I mentioned Google Trends is one way to see what is trending and what's viral. What is another way? If someone's like, I love this idea, Rebecca, I'm going to go do it right now. What's another way people can go find quote unquote like viral content to study?
I mean, there's different sites you can do. vidIQ is one that we use a lot for YouTube. And I mean, there's the trending page on YouTube, which isn't necessarily always accurate, but you can kind of see what YouTube is looking for to promote. And then on TikTok, it's your For You page. That is exactly what is trending. So there's a lot of ways. I mean, the more you watch it, the more you see it, you can, yeah, the For You page, all of them are different. There's a lot to break down with how to study that, but there is a way to even go in on YouTube and see, like with vidIQ, which videos have gotten the most amount of views in the shortest time based on the channel size and ratio. But I would need a screen to show you, but there is ways to do that. And you can see if there's a smaller channel that has a huge amount of views on a video, that's probably something that you could, use or do something with.
Okay, that's awesome. Guys listening back home, stay tuned to the recap. I'm going to have the Curious Canadian try to use vidIQ. And if he can do it, you can do it. And we'll
Yes.
talk a little bit about the steps in the recap. But I got to ask you, we're talking about trending, we're talking about virality. What is the hottest thing going in the last 48 hours as we're recording this? Is the Threads app right now, right? Mark Zuckerberg
Yeah.
competing with Twitter. It has blown up. 30 million subscribers he got in, I think it was 7 hours, which took over 2 years for Twitter to get that amount of growth. Now, I looked at Threads and I tried to search you, and I did it quick before this interview for research. I didn't see you on there. So tell me a little bit about why you're not on there, if that search was correct, and what your take is on the overall Threads app as of today.
I have to get on it actually after this call. I have the link and I just didn't do it. I haven't started it yet. I think it's important to jump on to apps. Like, I think that you should always be open. I think that's the important thing, is you should always be open to new apps and moving. I also think though that with anything, it's important to understand it and have a strategy. Now I'm going to get on it and play with it, but I think the bigger thing is, for it to be successful, is I would need to have like a strategy as to why I'm doing it instead of just jumping on it. So I think that is something that I haven't studied yet, but I would, if I'm going in, I'm not big on Twitter. I'm not active on it. My audience isn't really there. And I haven't really used that platform. So for me to be on trends and use it, I would have to really deep dive into how it's going to do well, and like how I'm using that to connect with my audience. And it's just like, it's a bigger thing, and it's something that I would really need to deep dive into. But I do think it has the chance of being successful. I like the link of your Instagram followers can now, connect with you in a different way. I think that's what we're losing right now. And that's why we're struggling as a society. We're seeking like connection, yet we're making viral content, which leaves you no connection. Mm-hmm. And so that's the struggle. You're not creating necessarily for your audience. You're creating for people that don't know you. And so it is that challenge. And I think with that comes an emptiness, where you don't get to feel that connection that maybe you got to have before with your audience. And so I think we're struggling to try to figure out, how do we get back that connection? I know that's the biggest thing for me, is I'm making viral content, or I'm trying to create for the masses, but I want that connection with my, my subscribers and the people that follow me too. So it's like this give and take. And I think Threads is trying to help build that connection back again, especially with Instagram's algorithm, where you're not seeing your friends, you're seeing who they think they want you to see. It's like you get even less of that connection. So I'm hoping that Threads can do that and really help build the community back.
That's fascinating to hear that intersection point of growth via virality, but also building the community and this interpersonal relationship. Because just because you get viral eyeballs doesn't necessarily mean you have that community built. And from everything I've analyzed and looked at over the years in content creation, it does feel like, while the virality is so important, it's that community aspect that really creates the engagement, which creates the purchases, which creates a lot of the dollars. I want to get into the idea that you said, I have to have a strategy before I go on, because I think about it in your world. I'm just imagining this, but I'm sure you have a great team of strategists, and I could see you guys like in the think tank coming up with it, and all these different pushback and moving parts, and then executing. I think for my money mafia back home, that's like a dream for them. But to them, it's just, I'm at home, just kind of, excuse my French, but just throwing shit at the wall. I don't know. So I'm not going to hold you to this, that you're going to execute on this exact strategy, but give me an idea of maybe what one strategy might look like for you before you do actually start threading away or entering into a social media app.
I can use you as the best example.
Perfect.
So you probably are linked to other types of creators that do the similar content, not the same, but money management, investing. I would go and look at them, and I would see what kinds of things they are doing. And then I would look at their best performing tweets, or I don't know what they're called now,
Threads,
on
I don't
Threads,
know.
your best performing threads, and
Okay.
see what they said. And I would study, if you have similar audience, how their audience is reacting to certain threads that they are posting. So then I would then also look at overall on the platform, who is growing the fastest and why are they growing? If this is all, algorithmic based, and, people like, why are people coming to these pages? Why are people liking it? And then based off that, I would then say, okay, I see this creator, this is doing really well. I see that this type of content is doing really well. Is how now do I take that with my brand and what I do, and formulate the threads for my audience?
Okay, that's
That
really
makes
helpful.
sense.
That's something I think I'm going to put into practice, and hopefully Money Mafia back home, you could put that into practice. My last question, as far as like content strategy and creation, is I read something recently from Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is right at Rebecca's level when it comes to following and content growth. And
Jimmy
he
is the biggest on the platform. He's amazing.
the biggest is
Yeah.
wildly impressive. But he
Yeah.
had said in an interview, I could be behind the scenes. I can pick someone. I can consult them without my name being anywhere. And I could have them at over 1 million followers on any platform within 3 months. And to me, that was mind blowing. Then Threads comes along. It's been now on for 48 hours. Of course, there's crossover with following, and he has a huge name, but he's on there and he has the most followers of probably anybody on the platform, probably more than Zuckerberg at this point. And what I saw him doing a lot of, though, was big time crazy reacting giveaways, like these giveaways that have you jaw dropped. I'm giving away a Tesla for comments, like things like that. I also saw on your channel at a different level, in your last video, you had done a giveaway with a cell phone, like free cell phone if you subscribe. How important are giveaways and jaw dropping plays like that to actually gain a following at first?
That's tricky. Jimmy's brand is based off that. When you think of him, he's doing these outrageous like amounts of money. And I mean, he's losing money on videos. He is not, he reinvests, he spends more than he can ever make on these videos. And I think that's what his brand is. I don't think you need to have that. There's different types of creators. I like to give back to my subscribers, but the most important thing at the end of the day is the connection. And I think like to try to do Mr. Beast there's already a Mr. Beast. So, you know, to beastify it is one thing. I don't think that fits me. He's, you know, a 24-year-old guy or 25, and I'm a mom, and it's just, we're at different places in life. It would be irresponsible of me to be putting my family at risk by taking these big chances and being, you know, losing money on every video. And, you know, and I think there's a different path for every creator. And, you know, I like to build my videos on the connection with my audience, on my storytelling, on having fun. And I also like to show my audience that you can do it and you don't need to spend $1 million a video. I think there's a place for that, but I don't think that you should feel like you have to do that, because at the end of the day, it's completely unrelatable to be doing what he does. He is very aspirational. And I don't know, I just feel like the connection I've made with my audience is more relatable. I like to relate to them. I like to put myself in their shoes. I like, you know, to make them feel like what I do is possible for them, you know, and so it's just different strategies.
Yeah, and you've done it at a level like no other. And for people back home, go watch the last video that is up on Rachel's YouTube. It is on Rebecca's YouTube. I was murdered by a princess. So it was put up 5 days ago, 2.1 million views, 2.7 thousand comments. And the thing though, that just took me by surprise was the length of this, Rebecca. 28 minutes, 48 seconds of picture perfect video, actors, outfits, changes. Let's get into the numbers a little bit. A video like that, 30 minutes, that is so high quality, I feel like it could be on Netflix. What does that cost you to make?
Well, that was actually one of my underperforming videos, which
Wow.
there's a trend right now on YouTube that's like, I was murdered by. So like that title could be very shocking. You know, 5 years from now, we'll look back and be like, why would you do that? But right now that is a trend.
When you look at all of your YouTube videos, what do you think the most is that you ever spent on one video?
You know, we don't have a budget when we're making stuff. I don't think in terms of like cost, renting locations are big. We had a stage set up in our backyard. That was a big production because it was like a musical. So that was probably our most expensive, but under $10,000 for our most expensive. Yeah, you know, you can do a lot with a little. And that's really what I like to like show is like, we obviously like to elevate our props and we'll make big things, but I try my best to be resourceful and not waste things. And so we're constantly like reusing it, doing a facelift on it with props. If we make a prop, for instance, we just made this like box frame and we'll use it in a bunch of different ways. And we're using that for one video, but then we'll probably create a short with it. And this so yeah, we really don't spend a lot on our videos except for location.
Okay,
And we
that's
pay talent. Obviously, we're not going to make talent sit there. So we obviously, if we bring people in for a day, we pay them.
Okay, got it. And it's like a day rate if someone's a talent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One thing I got to ask you. So in preparation for this, I reached out to a lot of different editors and I asked them like what it would cost for a 10-minute YouTube video to be edited. And I got on the low end, I got around like 275. On the high end, I got a guy that was trying to sell me on $7,000 for the video. You are one of the best in the business and you're saying like your overall expense is 1 to 10K. Now I know you have a team and you pay for them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to editing, if someone wanted to put a video out there, would you then recommend hiring someone full time so they're always available to put out as much as possible when you look at like overall cost and return? Or what's your overall take on that for people starting?
I think so again, we've gotten to this point where we have 5 full-time editors. That's why we can make the content that we make. And our editing team is very talented, very amazing. They do such a great job. They know my content now so well. They know how to do it, and they're constantly elevating it. which, I'm obviously pushing them as well to be better. But to start off, we've done it in stages. I've been doing this since, 2015. I went full-time 2017. And we didn't start off, like, I don't recommend hiring someone full-time. I recommend hiring them part-time, and you do it per video. So I would say, I don't know how long, maybe 200 for a video or whatever it is. If it's a basic video, and most aren't 30 minutes, they're like 10 to 12. I think, you start off there. And then eventually, if you are producing more content and it becomes a full-time job, it is smarter for you to have a full-time position. It's also, from a business perspective, better to have full-time for taxes but I would say start off just per project. Come up with like a rate that you guys agree on, figure out how many hours they're spending on the video, and start there, because you can always do more. But going in full-time, that's a big commitment. You're also taking on a person. Like anyone that I hire, I'm responsible for. I'm responsible for them living. And so that's a lot to take on right away. So you start with part-time, and then when you feel like you're in a place, you can go to full-time with that person. But if you're content creating, there's so many talented editors out there. That was the first hire we did. And I think that's the smartest one, because if you're creating, the time it takes to edit, like, could be used and spent in so many other ways, studying, creating, like, pre-production, just everything else on the creative end. So get an editor first is what I say, but start part-time.
Amazing. All right. I want to talk a little bit about, I think it's such good advice for people that are trying to get in the game, because people are creating these barriers. There's also people taking advantage. $7,500 for a 10-minute video is bullshit. No. So do your research out there, and then obviously negotiate. When you look at where you were before to where you are now with your content creation, and you analyze each year and you think about all the different revenue breakdowns, what was like around the worst year that you guys ever had, and what has been a number from like an annual revenue standpoint that you just never in your wildest dreams imagined you would ever reach?
I mean, I did it for so many years that at like zero, where I was making nothing, under 20K a year, and had to, offset it with other jobs. But then it jumped really fast once it started going. I think everyone thinks it happens overnight. And I think for some people it does, and they don't know how to handle it. I think for me, it was like 10 years of nothing, and then it happened overnight. Like, I had been creating videos, I had been producing, I had done all of this stuff. But what they said, like, if someone looked in, they'd say it happened overnight. But it really, I'd spent so many years creating content. It's just like it happened very fast, where people got to know who I was. So I think for me, when I hit the like 6 figures is really exciting. And then hitting 8 figures with our company, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, I never did it for money, but I always treated it like a business. I always wanted to do this for a living. And I think that doing it for money, you will get burnt out really fast. You really will with social media. It's got to be more. You've got to love creating and studying, and also knowing that the platforms with social media, like, it's hard to stay relevant, like we see people going up and then they drop and you never hear from them, and understanding it from like a 10, 20 year plan versus like, I want instant fame right now, has been really important. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
I think that's fair. 8 figures. So from 20K to 6 figures to 7 figures, it's now in the 8-figure range. For anyone that is trying to understand what that means, 7 figures, million to 9, 8 figures, 10 million and up. When you look at that top line of whatever that 8-figure number is, 10, 20, 30 million, whatever it is, and then you break down where the revenue is coming from, how does the percentage change as it relates to like premium subs, merch, sponsored content, AdSense? So if people are trying to think like where is the true dollars in this world, they can start navigating themselves. How would you break down like revenue breakdown?
Well, I would say that depending on your niche, it can be very different. If you are in, like, if you're doing money or investing, you might have other avenues like a course or something that would make more. I think it varies for different people. For us, at least probably 60 to 70 comes from our ad revenue because we have 7 channels. So, but we also, can do, I think we do 7 figures in merch. We do,
Wow.
and then we have other ventures as well that we move it, but primarily right now, and then brand deals as well. But I do think it varies from niche to niche. Like investing,
Okay.
I would think that, you guys would put out YouTube content, but I would think that there would be other sources of revenue.
Totally. Yeah. Like in our world, I mean, there's sources of revenue like having ownership in like a new platform. Like
Yeah,
you can get equity stakes. You can have founders on different shows and interviews, and they'll pay a good amount if you include other sponsored advertising with it. And
yeah,
then, I mean, there's so many people who have big time, and I've been fortunate to have a couple too, like year type deals with bigger financial companies. But the
yeah,
problem is, you give your exclusivity. There's opportunities with courses and books and stuff like that. So I agree, niche by niche. But the one thing I've heard consistently with YouTube, because I'm not really big into YouTube, is that there's much more money in getting ads that are integrated into your video that you're doing sponsorship, as opposed to letting Google and Google run just the ads that you see on the YouTube, like, oh, you can skip after 10 seconds. But I
yeah.
think what I'm hearing for you is a larger percentage of your actual revenue does come from those ads that Google's just playing through each of your videos. That's correct.
Yes, I think it's different for everyone, but for me, I'm very picky with the brands. We have a younger audience, and I just don't feel right promoting something that I'm not fully confident in. So we turn down a lot of brand deals because it just doesn't feel right. And I've always liked the fact that I don't know, I love like ads coming not from the viewers as well. So I don't like even subscriptions. I haven't, we did an app and I would have loved to keep that up, but we just don't have the manpower. And I don't feel comfortable having our audience pay for something if they're not getting
Mhm.
above and beyond the amount of content that I think they deserve anywhere. So I'm more hesitant on having our viewers get stuff unless I feel like 1,000% confident that the brand is perfect for our
Right.
audience, or that I'm giving them a product that is like above and beyond and that they're going to be very happy with. So that's
Yeah.
that's kind of
Okay.
where we've been.
So B2B, I totally support that. I think that is awesome. When you look back at all the deals you've done, whether it's sponsored deals or not, can you think of, you don't even have to say the brand name, but like the most you've been paid for delivery? Like I've heard recently a rumor that like Kim Kardashian got paid $8 million for a post in 90 days
Yeah.
usage. Like, do you have one marquee deal that you did in your career that you're like, all the work paid off? This is it.
I mean, on my channel where it's at right now, you're looking at like 6 figures for a deal.
Okay.
But again, none of
Gotcha.
it's so hard because when you integrate those, you also want to create the best content. And sometimes it's managing what the brand wants with your content, because at the end of the day, like, you want your channel to perform well. And so if you take these brand deals and your videos start tanking, it can hurt everything. So
Okay.
6 figures is around where it would be if I were to put something in on my YouTube channel.
Okay, I got it. We just have a few minutes left. I want to do 2 rapid fires. The answer will just be one thing. So let's start
Okay.
with this. The first rapid fire, the biggest content creation mistake either you've made or that you see people making that you're like, if you don't do one thing, don't do this. What would you say that would be?
I would say copying content. It can work for a little bit, but if you don't have your brand and who you are, and you don't have a twist that it's short-term success, but there's no longevity if you don't build a connection with your subscribers or your following.
That's a really, really good one. That will only last short term and will not have a
Yeah.
long-term strategy. The second question, a long-term strategy. Let's take content creation out of the way. You have the media company, you're doing 8 figures. Now the money is coming in left and right. I need one tax tip that you've initiated to like help deal with all this stuff, and then one financial tip that you've used and implemented to like, either invest or make money on your money or think about the long term with all the money's coming in.
Yeah. Well, we hired a business manager actually before I even blew up. I think he said I was like the lowest, like I had the lowest income of all his clients, and he was spending the most time with me. And to the point that someone was like, why are you spending time with that client when, you have all these others? But he really believed in me, and, he loves business and all of that. And I love that as well. And so we connected on that, and, he's helped bring us to where we're at. So I think if you can get a business manager, someone that knows it and that you trust, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, over time, we've built up more trust. And then as far as investing, my other passion is real estate. So anything we make, not all of it, we obviously have, stocks and trust fund, like we have all of that, but real estate is where we invest a lot of our YouTube income, because, it becomes passive. We have a lot of Airbnbs. We have about 15 properties that we
Wow.
have.
Amazing. Oh, Rebecca, I have a
Short-term.
million more questions to ask you, but I know time is finite and we
Yeah.
have to get you going here, but we have to end, and we end every guest. They give us a trading secret. So it could be a money trading secret, a career trading secret, just a life trading secret, something that they can't get in a textbook or Google. They can only get it from you, Rebecca. What would be one trading secret you could leave us with?
Ooh, one trading secret is cost segregation for real estate. If you do real estate and you own a rental property, cost segregation, it costs, between 7 to 10,000. It varies on the price. You bring someone out there, but you can get a lot of money back. I'll let you guys do the research on it, but it saved us a lot of money on our rental properties. I can go into that on another, but if you look into cost segregation, I didn't even know what it was a year ago, and we've been able to use that on our rental properties. So if you don't know what it is, you should.
Yeah, it's so funny you brought up cost segregation. It's something I've been talking a little bit on the show, and it's something that could have a huge, huge impact on decreasing your taxable income. For the money mafia, Rebecca has to get going. But in the recap, I'll break down more about cost segregation so you could walk away with that piece of advice in detail if you aren't familiar with it. But Rebecca, I want to give you the chance to promote all your channels, where people can find you. I mean, I know there's a whole lot of them, but where can people find more Rebecca if they want more and want to see your content and learn more from you?
My channel is Rebecca Zamolo. I'm Rebecca Zamolo on all social media, TikTok, Instagram. I'm going to have to get on Threads after this. So you can find me there. And yeah, thank you, Jason, for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
And thank you so much for breaking the taboo of talking about your career, the money behind it, and the success you've had. It has been a pleasure having you on Trading Secrets.
Thank you for having me.